Cursed frequencies, deadly frequency.
They say sound can heal. But what if it can also destroy? Across the world, strange frequencies have surfaced. Tones no human should hear. They can't be captured on ordinary microphones. Some aren't even heard, just felt. A chill in your bones, a pressure in your skull, a rising panic you can't explain. These are the cursed frequencies, and those who hear them never stay the same. 1. The 19 Hz sphere frequency, infrasound.
In 1998, British scientist Vic Tandy was working late in his laboratory, a small, dimly lit room filled with strange equipment and machines. He was no stranger to the solitude of midnight shifts, but that night, something felt different. At first, it was subtle, just a mild nausea. His stomach churned and his head began to ache, but he tried to brush it off. However, as the minutes passed, the sensation worsened. His vision blurred, and he felt an odd pressure in his chest, like something was closing in on him. Then, he saw it. A gray figure, faint, almost ghostly, appeared at the edge of the room. It was fleeting, just a shape that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, but Vic was certain of what he saw. His heart raced, but when he turned to get a better look, it vanished. There was nothing there. Confused and unnerved, Vic tried to shake off the experience, but the feelings of terror lingered. He questioned his own mind. Had he imagined it? No one believed him when he mentioned what had happened. The sight of the figure, the overwhelming fear, it all seemed too outlandish. But Vic, a scientist, wasn't ready to accept mere superstition. He was determined to find an explanation. So, he began to investigate. He checked the frequencies in the room, using his expertise with sound equipment. What he discovered sent a chill down his spine. The room's ventilation fan was emitting a sound at exactly 19 Hz, a frequency well below the threshold of human hearing. While most people couldn't consciously perceive it, the vibrations were powerful enough to affect the human body. In fact, the frequency was specifically tuned to vibrate the human eyeball. At this frequency, the human eye begins to tremble ever so slightly, causing blurry vision. The body responds with nausea, dizziness, and a deep sense of unease. What Vic had experienced, the blurred vision, the terrifying hallucination, the feeling of panic, wasn't just his mind playing tricks. It was the physical effects of infrasound. Later, studies revealed that this very same frequency, 19 Hz, was commonly found in places that were said to be haunted. Abandoned buildings, old cathedrals, haunted houses. Any place where people claimed to have seen ghosts, felt an overwhelming sense of fear, or heard strange sounds. It was always the same, infrasound, in the form of 19 Hz, creating the sensation of terror without the victim even knowing why. This phenomenon became known as the fear frequency. But the most chilling part? It doesn't end with ghost stories. Military-grade infrasound weapons have been developed using this very frequency range. These weapons are not designed to kill, no. They target something far more insidious. The goal is not to destroy the body, but to break the mind. When exposed to infrasound at this frequency, a person's brain begins to experience extreme disorientation, hallucinations, and a profound sense of dread. It's a psychological attack, designed to unmake the victim's sanity, to render them powerless, overwhelmed by terror without cause. The mind begins to fracture, all because of a frequency that is too low for most to consciously perceive. Imagine a weapon that doesn't physically harm you, but instead tears at your psyche, leaving you in a state of absolute fear, unable to function or even comprehend what's happening. This is the power of the 19 Hz fear frequency, a sound that not only haunts, but can break the mind itself. The question remains, how many have felt its effects and never realized it? How many have experienced terror not from the supernatural, but from something far more sinister? So the next time you feel an unexplainable chill down your spine or a sense of panic rises from nowhere, consider this. It might not be your imagination. It could be something far more real, something hidden in the frequencies we cannot hear, but that we feel nonetheless.
2. The Siberian Howl, Russia.
In the remote, desolate corners of Siberia, far from the bustling cities, lies a village where the winds are colder than anything most could imagine, and the silence of the snow-covered land is only broken by the occasional howl of wolves in the distance. In 1984, this isolated village would become the epicenter of something unimaginable. It started with strange symptoms that no one could explain. People began experiencing intense, pounding migraines. Children would wake in the dead of night, screaming in terror at nothing. The air was thick with unease, and the whole village seemed to be gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread. At first, it was written off as nothing more than coincidence or the effects of harsh weather conditions. But the symptoms only grew worse. Villagers spoke of nightmares that felt real, vivid hallucinations, and an ever-present feeling that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't until the local radio tower was repaired that the mystery deepened. The tower had been damaged for years, but when it was finally fixed, something changed. The village received no static, no foreign signals, nothing unusual that they could detect. The broadcasts seemed perfectly normal, yet the symptoms didn't subside. If anything, they worsened. Then one night, the village heard something, a sound unlike anything they had ever encountered. A chilling, distorted wail echoed across the frozen landscape. At first, it was faint, like the distant cry of an animal lost in the night. But as the wind carried it further into the village, the sound grew clearer. It was a woman's cry, desperate, filled with sorrow. But there was something wrong with it, something off. Beneath the woman's wail, there was a deeper sound, an almost animalistic howl that sent chills down the spines of those who heard it. The sound lingered for days. The villagers tried to ignore it, telling themselves it was just the wind or some animal's cries amplified by the cold. But it was impossible to deny the eerie sensation that accompanied it. One cold evening, a group of brave villagers decided to investigate. They followed the sound, moving deep into the forest, hoping to uncover its source. The air grew colder, the darkness thicker, as they ventured further from the safety of the village. The wailing grew louder, more distorted, until it filled their ears entirely. It was impossible to tell where it was coming from, above, below, or even through the earth itself. The sound seemed to be everywhere. The group ventured deeper into the forest, walking for miles through the heavy snow. And then they found it, the source of the noise. But it wasn't a woman, and it certainly wasn't just an animal. There, in the dim light of the forest, they found a vast and unnatural void, a hollow, silent space beneath the snow, vibrating with an energy they couldn't understand. Then, it happened. The wailing ceased. The silence that followed was more terrifying than the howl itself. Two of the villagers returned to the village days later. One couldn't speak. His eyes were wide with terror, his face pale. He would not, or could not, explain what had happened. The other was no better. He was shaking, muttering under his breath as he walked through the village. When asked what he had seen, he whispered only one thing. It wasn't human. It was beneath us. The tower was dismantled days later, but the strange events didn't stop. The air in the village remained thick with a lingering unease. The villagers couldn't shake the feeling that something had been awakened, something ancient and dark, lying just beneath the surface. Weeks later, a team of researchers from Moscow arrived in the region. Armed with advanced equipment, they scanned the area around the radio tower and the surrounding forest. What they discovered was chilling. Low-frequency waves, almost inaudible to the human ear, were bouncing off the permafrost, echoing and resonating through the ground itself. The researchers couldn't explain it. The waves had a distinct pattern, as if the earth were trying to communicate something. They weren't natural. They seemed almost deliberate. The waves created an eerie sensation in the air, a deep, unsettling hum that vibrated through the bones. The ground itself seemed to be alive with it. It was as though the land itself was sending a warning, a call from beneath, a reminder of something buried deep within the earth. Locals now call it the sound of the buried. They say it's a warning, a sign that something is still down there just beneath their feet, waiting to be disturbed. Something ancient, something that should never be awakened. Over the years, more reports of similar sounds began to emerge from other regions of Russia, remote villages, isolated towns, places where no one would dare venture too far into the wilderness. And in every case, the symptoms were the same: migraines, nightmares, and the unbearable sense that something was watching. Some believe the sound is a warning from the past, a force that has been lying dormant for centuries, perhaps even millennia, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Others think it is a signal, a disturbance in the fabric of reality itself, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead are thinnest. But one thing is certain: the sound of the buried is not just a story, it is real. And every year on the anniversary of the event, the wind picks up again, and those who still live in the region hear it. The wail, the howl, the voice from beneath. And they know that whatever is hidden below, it is still waiting.
3. Gloomy Sunday, Hungary.
It was known as the Hungarian suicide song. Gloomy Sunday, composed in 1933 by Rezső Seres, became infamous for reasons no one could have predicted. What began as a melancholic piece of music would go on to haunt a generation, forever linked to a series of tragic deaths that no one could explain. When it was first played on the radio, it was celebrated for its haunting beauty. The melody, slow and mournful, seemed to capture the very essence of despair. But then something strange began to happen. Across Hungary, and eventually beyond, reports surfaced connecting Gloomy Sunday with a wave of suicides. People jumped from bridges, overdosed, or shot themselves, their deaths eerily synchronized with the playing of the song. It wasn't just a song to them. It became a soundtrack to their final moments. The haunting melody of the song echoed through their lives, and in many cases, the song was still playing when the bodies were found. At first, the connection seemed too bizarre to believe, too unbelievable to be more than a coincidence. But the suicides continued, each more chilling than the last. People began to whisper that the song had a curse, a power that could drive the mind to its breaking point. The song's lyrics, a tragic tale of loss and hopelessness, only added to its dark allure. But it wasn't just the lyrics that affected people. Researchers began to study the song, and what they discovered was chilling. It wasn't just the somber melody or the lyrics that triggered these extreme reactions. It was the composition itself. The song was built with particular minor chords, arranged in a way that had an unnaturally dissonant quality. The low, slow progression of the chords had a hypnotic, almost sinister effect, evoking deep emotional responses from some listeners. The music seemed to tap into something primal, something vulnerable, a place of emotional fragility. Some scientists believe that this combination of chords and the deliberate pace of the song triggered a chemical response in the brain, overwhelming those with a predisposition to depression or despair. The result was a profound emotional collapse that led them to take their own lives. It was as though the song was not only a reflection of sorrow, but a catalyst for it, a subtle yet powerful influence on the psyche. The BBC, alarmed by the growing reports, refused to air the original version for decades. The song's dark legacy had cast a shadow over Sarris's work, and as the years went on, Gloomy Sunday became less of a song and more of a warning, an eerie, cautionary tale about the power of music and the fragility of the human mind. But the most tragic chapter of all came in 1968, when Sarris himself died by suicide. The man who had composed the song that seemed to claim so many lives was finally claimed by it as well. His death was as mysterious and tragic as the song itself. In his final moments, Sarris left a note. It read, "I knew it would take someone someday. I just didn't know it would be me." It was as though he had always known that Gloomy Sunday had a dark destiny. The song, which he had created with his own hands, had come full circle, and in the end, it had claimed him too. To this day, Gloomy Sunday remains a piece of music wrapped in sorrow, its melody still evoking an unsettling sense of melancholy. It is a song that seems to carry the weight of the lives lost to it, a reminder of the power that music can hold over the mind and soul. There are still those who refuse to listen to it, fearing its curse. Some say they can still hear it faintly, on rainy days or in the quiet of the night, its melancholy tones drifting through the air, beckoning them to remember the lives it touched and the darkness it brought. And as for Raju Sarris, he may have left us with a haunting melody, but he also left behind a chilling question, one that still lingers in the minds of those who hear Gloomy Sunday. Was it the song that took the lives of so many? Or was it the despair, the darkness inside that it reflected, waiting for the right moment to emerge?
4. The Taos Hum, USA.
In the quiet, barren desert town of Taos, New Mexico, something strange began to stir in the late 1990s. Hundreds of residents started to complain about a sound, a low, persistent hum echoing through the town at all hours of the day and night. It wasn't just a noise. It was a constant, untraceable hum, a sound that seemed to reverberate deep within the bones, vibrating the air yet offering no clear source. It wasn't a typical noise that could be easily pinpointed or explained. Some people called it maddening, an incessant low-frequency hum that crept into their mind, disrupting their peace. It started subtly, just barely audible at first, but as the days passed, it grew louder, more oppressive until it consumed the quiet of the night. Those who heard it complained of insomnia, nosebleeds, dizziness, and increasing anxiety. The hum seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, like a giant machine breathing beneath the earth, its unseen presence pushing relentlessly against the town. It wasn't music. It wasn't words. It was a vibration, a sound at 30 to 40 hertz, just below the range of human speech or typical music. Some residents, however, heard nothing at all. To them, the town remained blissfully silent, untouched by whatever was affecting their neighbors. It seemed like a cruel, shared affliction for those who could hear it, a silent curse that was inflicted only on a select few. Scientists, of course, were intrigued. They came in droves, setting up seismic monitors, RF detectors, and sleep studies, hoping to trace the source of the hum. They scanned for everything from electrical anomalies to seismic activity, from natural phenomena to man-made causes, but found nothing. No source, no explanation, no proof. The hum, it seemed, was a ghost, alive in the air but invisible to the instruments they used to study it. It was as if the very town itself was vibrating in a way that couldn't be measured or understood. Then came the case of the man who decided to take things into his own hands. This man, a local researcher, became obsessed with mapping the hum's movement across Taos. He wanted to know where it started, how far it spread, and most importantly, if it followed any particular patterns. Days turned into weeks as he tracked the hum, listening intently, taking notes and following the faint sound wherever it led him. But then, just as mysteriously as the hum itself, he vanished. Weeks later, his body was found deep in the desert, barefoot, wandering in a dazed, incoherent state. He was muttering to himself, his mind clearly broken. His final words, recorded by those who found him, sent chills down their spines. "They're tunneling. They're beneath us. It's not sound. It's a signal." What did he mean? Who was tunneling? What signal had he heard? Was it a metaphor? Or had he discovered something the rest of the town had missed? His words, cryptic and chilling, only deepened the mystery of the hum. But the hum didn't stop. It didn't go away. It lingered in Taos, a constant, oppressive presence that gnawed at the nerves of those who could hear it. Year after year, more people began to hear the hum, their lives disrupted, their health deteriorating under its influence. Theories abound. Some claim it's a natural geological phenomenon, a noise created by underground tectonic movements or the vibrations of distant machinery. Others suggest it's something more sinister, a government experiment, a military operation, or even an extraterrestrial signal. But no one can say for sure. What is certain is that the hum still pulses through the town of Taos, a low-frequency presence that echoes beneath the surface of everyday life, as though something is hidden just beneath the ground, waiting to be discovered. For some, the hum has become a part of life, something they've learned to live with, even though they don't understand it. For others, it remains an unsolvable riddle, a source of fear and confusion. The question still hangs in the air. What is the hum, and why is it growing louder? Every year, more people start to hear it. Every year, the town of Taos becomes a little more isolated, a little more consumed by its own mystery.
5. The Forbidden File. Unknown origin.
In 2013, deep within the labyrinth of the dark web, a post appeared on a forgotten forum, a place where few dare to tread, a digital realm of secrets best left undiscovered. It was a file, cursed /. No metadata, no author, no trace of where it came from or who uploaded it. Just a name and a chilling message. Do not listen with headphones. Do not listen at night. Do not listen alone. Of course, as it often happens on the dark web, someone ignored the warning. Someone always does. The file was only 45 seconds long, barely enough time to think or to prepare for what would come next. But within days, the user who had dared to click on the file, whose username was decipher.exe, posted again. Their message was brief, but enough to chill anyone who read it. I hear it, even when it's off. My nose won't stop bleeding. There's something behind my eyes. And then, silence. The post was haunting, unsettling, a cry for help. But what truly terrified those who saw it wasn't the user's words. It was the absence that followed. There was no further message, no explanation, just a deep, foreboding silence, as though decipher.exe had vanished from the forum, leaving nothing but that warning hanging like a dark cloud. But some couldn't resist. Others downloaded the file. Some did it out of curiosity. Some, perhaps, to see if the strange warnings had any truth to them. It was only a 45-second file, after all. What harm could it do? But for those who dared to play it, the consequences were immediate. One by one, they reported disturbing symptoms. Some described intense vertigo, as though the ground itself was shifting beneath them. The world seemed to distort, as though they were no longer connected to reality, trapped in a loop of disorienting dizziness. Others suffered seizures, violent, uncontrolled convulsions, as if their very bodies were rejecting the sound that had invaded them. They posted frantic messages, pleading for help, but their words grew erratic, their thoughts spiraling in strange directions. One particularly chilling account came from a user who claimed to hear voices, but not just any voices. These voices, they said, spoke in reverse Latin, a language lost to time, the words twisted and distorted in ways that felt unnatural, as though the very fabric of reality was being warped. And then the file vanished. The post, the file itself, was scrubbed from the forum. Deleted, wiped clean as if it had never existed. But those who had already listened to it, those who had already heard its distorted, nightmarish sound, knew the truth. The file was gone, but it wasn't gone. It still exists, somewhere, hidden deep within the forgotten corners of the internet, tucked away in places that can never be fully erased. The digital world is vast, after all. Files like cursed.ogg can never truly be deleted. But the most terrifying part? Once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. It doesn't matter if you delete the file. It doesn't matter if you remove it from your devices. The sound lingers in your mind. It festers. It invades your thoughts when you least expect it, like a parasite, burrowing deeper into your psyche. The whispers, the static, the haunting screeches, they echo in your ears in the quiet moments when you're alone in the dark. Some say they hear it in their dreams, others in the silence between thoughts. It becomes a part of you, inescapable. And as for decipher.exe, no one knows what happened to them. They never posted again, and no trace of their account remains. Some believe they're lost somewhere, trapped in the same nightmare the file created. There are rumors that the file isn't just a piece of audio, that it's something more, a signal, an invitation to something darker, that whoever listens to it is marked, drawn into a web of madness that they can never escape. So, if you ever come across a file named cursed.gg, whether on the dark web or in some forgotten corner of the internet, don't be curious. Don't click. Because once you hear it, the sound doesn't just vanish. It follows you, and you can't unhear it.
Conclusion. The frequencies we cannot hear may be the most dangerous. Scientifically, certain sound waves can indeed cause powerful reactions in the human brain. Infrasound, sound waves below the range of human hearing, can induce feelings of unease, anxiety, and even hallucinations. Some frequencies disrupt brain chemistry, leading to confusion or a sense of impending doom. What makes these frequencies particularly terrifying is their ability to manipulate our subconscious without us even realizing it, creating chaos and, in some extreme cases, leading to death. But from a spiritual perspective, these cursed frequencies represent something far darker. They are the sounds of ancient forces hidden from the world, designed to unsettle and corrupt the soul. Could they be whispers from beyond? Perhaps they are warnings from a realm we are not meant to understand, a realm where the dead speak in vibrations, leaving us with an ominous message. Some doors are not meant to be opened. So the question remains, are we truly ready to listen to the sounds that were never meant for human ears?
So the question remains, are we truly ready to listen to the sounds that were never meant for human ears? Some have tried and paid the ultimate price. Will you be next? The world is not always what it seems. If you're ready to keep peeling back the shadows, like, share, and subscribe this video. The truth is just beginning to unfold.